Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
We're still audio only, too. Saluting.
Only audio?
Also only audio. So saluting didn't work for the podcast download portion of this.
Sure. Okay.
Should we start this over?
Sure, give it another shot. Let's see how long I'm going to leave it in anyways.
Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric. That's Vanessa.
Yes.
And Kelly. Eric, we are recording remotely once again. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, what happened?
Strikes, man.
Why?
Stuck the final podcaster. I went on a family reunion, Minneapolis, Minnesota this weekend, and got a bonus present when I got home. I am COVID.
Aww.
One of us.
That is exactly
now you've got
what
them
my
in
nephew
here.
sent to me when I told him I had it. Because he has
Oh my God.
And,
Do you know like when it happened or who was patient zero?
so far, well, Dina, my wife, tested positive today, and so far nobody else has.
Mm-hmm.
So
What?
Eric's Eric is patient
So the only thing
zero.
I figure out is, and I can't, I mean, the trip home was the only time it was just the two of us, but that would be like, I don't know, 8-hour incubation period or something. I guess it could be that
No,
fast.
it's like 3 days.
So
That's
Well,
so
and
weird.
and who cares who gave it to who? We all get it.
Yep.
So
Yep, we do.
it's nobody's fault.
No, I just like to gossip. That's all.
Speaking of gossiping, you guys, my mom called me yesterday to let me know she had watched the first episode of The Boys.
Oh
of
my
season
God.
3? Oh,
No,
okay. Well,
of season
that's
1.
a slow lead in, at least.
Dipping her
Regardless.
toes in. She did say, is this supposed to be scary? And I said, no. And she said, oh, good, because I was laughing the whole way through.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad she's, yeah, exactly. I'm glad she's having a good time with it because that made me nervous right there.
Yeah.
My mom,
Yeah.
who is also listening, should not watch The Boys. Do not. You will not
that sounds
enjoy it.
like good advice.
I also want to put this out there. We're doing this remotely. We are using a new program. We got mics to do this remotely with. And I want to say thanks to everybody who has participated in the value for value model, because when you give us that cash, we're not out drinking it away or anything like that. It goes towards stuff like this new recording program, that cat that Vanessa has, our microphones, whatever. So when you donate to the show, we just put it right back into the show. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. That's covered chairs, mics, some mic stands for us. So yeah, we really appreciate you guys. And all it does is allow us to make even better shows.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Sounding.
Better sounding shows.
I don't know if you guys are Umbrella Academy fans, but the new season dropped a couple weeks back.
I've read them all. I watched the previous seasons. I have not watched the new one yet. Is it good? Is it bad?
It's good enough. You know, it's such a departure from the comic book now, because I think there were only 2 series of comics, and now we're into
spin-off.
a 3rd series of a show. So
Yeah.
it's going its own way now. But, you know, it's all the characters that you know and love, although the young man that they've got playing the 13-year-old boy, it's getting harder and harder to pretend that he is 13.
I can only imagine.
Quickly.
I was thinking that when I saw the poster. I was like, oh, he grew a bit.
Yeah. Still got the same humor. And the first episode of this new season has an amazing sequence that just made me think, oh, I'm so glad you guys are back. I missed you.
Well, as of last night, I caught up with all of Stranger Things. So I've seen the whole of Stranger Things now for this season.
As have I.
Oh,
We started yesterday
okay.
at like 8 a.m. We are now 45 minutes into episode 8. So I am like
Okay.
Wow.
3 hours away from being done.
Oh man. Yeah, I started it yesterday at like I think 9 and I was like it's going to be a long night, but I have to see all of it cuz I cannot let anything get spoiled for me. So, I won't let anything get spoiled for
Thank
you,
you.
Eric.
Thank
I enjoyed it. I really like the music this season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like the music as well.
Yeah.
I liked kind of how it ended up, but I'll tell you the bullshit Russian storyline was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Elle's taking Elle away from her friends and everything was ridiculous. The only thing that I did really enjoy was the main group of kids trying to get shit done in Hawkins.
1000%.
I almost feel like they should have done Stranger Things stories and done that Russian thing as an entire independent season, like 4-episode mini season. I think that would have helped a lot because it feels like you're watching 3 different series in one show.
It basically is. Yeah, it's so frustrating to watch Elle in a storyline we've seen probably 2 if not 3 times already. And then like the Russian storyline, I'm like just bring Hopper home, guys. Just bring him the fuck home. We don't care about Russia. Like, I mean, it was fun for like an episode, but we spend so much time there. I will say they did remember at some point that Winona Ryder was hot, and that was good. Good job, guys. You figured that out. They're like, oh yeah, I remember she was a massive sex symbol in the 80s. Whoa, and we've got her, and this show is set in the 80s. Oh my god. So that's
nice.
good.
Like I said, I'd been to family reunion in Minnesota. Finished what you'd probably call a bucket list thing. Visiting Paisley Park. Prince's home / massive 3 studios of audio recording systems and a 1,500 person live concert arena with a 200 person small concert venue. And I tell you, it was really, really cool. It was really neat.
Oh yeah.
There was, the tour we on had people from all over the country and UK and the Netherlands. And there's only like 12 of us. So like, wow.
That's so
yeah,
fun.
It was really cool. So it's, they built in like 86. And I remember going, man, that'd be cool to visit. But I'm guessing, you don't go there while Prince is living and recording. But
sure.
But so, yeah, I'd say, if you're a Prince fan and you're anywhere within the realm to go see it, I'd check it out. Well worth it and a hell of a lot of fun. So that was cool.
That's so cool.
That's very cool. I'm happy for you. I'm not the biggest Prince fan, but I know that you are. And so that makes me happy that you got to do that. Well, I stayed at home and watched the latest episode of The Boys.
Oh, yeah. I've caught up on that one.
Yeah. Some revelations at the end of this episode. Yeah. But Eric, I know you read the comics. I thought it was really interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we find out in the comics that Black Noir was a clone of Homelander?
That's what I heard. Sounds familiar. That sounds right.
So it's very interesting that they have gone completely away from that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they did. That was quite the origin story they told for him. Quite a way to tell it.
Poor guy.
I am looking forward to more Warner Brothers animated origin stories in his head. That was something else.
That was pretty cool. And
I will say that The Boys is probably the most satisfying show I've been watching lately. Just in that at the end of every episode, I'm like, oh boy, that was a good episode.
I think that says something more about you than anything else, Kelly.
Me and my mom, apparently.
Every time I watch an episode of The Boys, I'm like a little bit further in the need of therapy. And it just breaks some precious part of me a little bit further. And I know I'll never get it back.
The fragile boy reaction to people going, wait a second, Homelander's the bad guy. It's like,
That was so fucking
yes,
funny.
yes, he's the bad guy.
How did you not realize? Who is surprised? Who are you people that are surprised by this?
That's probably not a dive we want to take right now.
Right. I think this is, anybody could look at this and apply it to whoever they don't like at this point in society.
But you start.
I think that's the point of it.
It's so frustrating because you start in season 1 and he's literally not helping a plane crash and he's like, fuck off and leaves. Like, when do you think he's a good guy? Because that's just an allegory for 9/11. So, meh.
Oh, wait a second. Are you telling me that in real life people didn't realize that Homelander was a bad guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there were people that were upset thinking he was speaking for them and realized, oh, what?
Wow, I have not heard anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they've portrayed him as a complete psychopath the entire series. So
yeah,
if you've latched onto him as your North Star in this show, then I mean, there really is no North Star, but I guess the closest would be Huey, right? Huey or
Starlight,
the woman. What do they call her? Kamiko in the show, but I think she was the woman in the comics.
Yeah, she is pretty good. She might be the only one with a soul. And the guy, not Russian, but the guy
Frenchie?
who hangs out with her, Frenchie.
Yep.
I guess he's French, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, and his name is Frenchie. Yep. So
took me a minute.
There you go.
What? For my brain, it's still early in the morning, so yeah,
that's fair.
Well, I don't know if I'm fully caught up yet or not on Ms. Marvel. I think I am. And it's been like a real roller coaster because I'm finding that with each episode, I either am like, oh yeah, I'm getting really into this, or okay, what? And then, oh yeah, it's really cool. And then, oh, okay. It's like they go really small scale and I really love it because it's these personal stories of these different characters and the art design is spectacular. And I just love spending the day with them. And then they're like, and now we're in a foreign country. And it's like, oh, okay. Why are we here? Can we go back? Why? Oh, now we're in a new dimension. Oh, okay. Like, it's just, it doesn't, like, the scaling is just not working. So
I think I am an episode and a half behind at least. And how many episodes are in this show?
I think there's going to be 6.
So yeah,
6.
Sounds right.
Okay. Has this tied yet into? I know that it ties peripherally because of Captain Marvel, but has this tied into anything going into the new phase?
Not yet, but I think it's supposed to set up the new phase, or there's rumors that it is going to set up the new phase.
I wonder if you're feeling, because the reason I'm an episode and a half behind was whatever happened during the half episode I started watching, I was like, oh, here's the kids part of this show that is not aimed at me.
Oh.
And I started losing a little bit of interest, but I still think it's awfully cute.
It's fun. It's fun. It's enjoyable, and it does get a little interdimensional stuff, which seems like the setup team coming in.
Okay.
But I'm still liking it.
Still miles ahead of Obi-Wan for enjoyment factor, right?
Yes.
Fucking Obi-Wan. Why? I have so many problems with that show, but anyway, it's Eric's turn.
Yeah, well, I'll bring one that I think you liked. On the plane, I watched Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's so good.
Was this an option to watch, or is this something you brought?
It was an option in there.
It's so good.
They're streaming. They had Wi-Fi on the plane that you could connect to actually for free to watch certain things, and this was in that one. So I'm watch this, and it's really good.
It is
surprisingly
Oh, I'm so
good.
glad you liked it. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
That gives it a 100% rating on the Strange Eons Tomato
Nice.
rating.
Have to add that one in. But the cleverness of the lines and the breakdown of different fandoms brought together really well. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, they did a really good job. They were so caring towards all the characters because often when you rewrite these different people and stick them together, it feels like they haven't gotten the tone right. But for this, they somehow made that tone work, and it should not have, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like you can tell, oh, this was written by the Batman writers, or this was written by the TMT writers, but this was written by a good writer. That's what this was.
1000%.
Yeah. Did you make Dina watch that with you?
No. No, she was
okay.
Reading or asleep.
Okay. Good, because otherwise I was going to suggest that perhaps she shot you up with COVID after that.
Is she not a Turtles fan?
Dina is a surprisingly lovely, normal human that married this big geek we've got here.
I gotcha.
Yeah, that's well put.
Expectations readjusted.
There you go.
It's always hard to be around a normal person and be like, I'm such a nerd. And they're like, God damn, you're a nerd. I'm like, oh no.
She is adjusted. Yes. There have been periods like, what? But yeah.
Right. I'm sure. Well, okay, cool. Why don't we take a little break, guys? And then when we're coming back, we are talking weird food.
Chew on this.
You'll never cut the mustard, mean winner.
Food fight!
Your history, Private Pizza. Pow! And your lunch. Combat curtain. Fire!
What's going on?
Joy Slam is food again, Mom.
Food fighters, figures, and combat carton each sold separately. Toys do not walk in book.
And we are back. Eric, This was your subgenre pick.
Man, did I do it to myself on this one? Jesus.
Oh, no.
This is a film I watched years ago. I put in like a group of, I don't know, it's probably 3 or 4 films. City of Lost Children, The Chocolate War, and a few other movies that I watched moving from small town Twin, where you've got, your Blockbuster style video stores, and discovering Scarecrow and go, what is this weird crap? Oh my God. And I had powerful memories of this one being pretty strong. I was the cook, the thief, his wife, and her lover. 1989. Have either of you seen this one?
Yeah, I saw this. I know what the weird food is.
There's a few things.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but I feel like I've heard a lot about it.
I can understand why. This is Rotten Tomato rated at 85 critics, 88 crowd. Couldn't really find a good budget, but it made about $7.7 million. So art house wise, it did fine. Just directed by Peter Greenway, who's prolific as a director, shall we say, especially for modern times. He's got 79 credits. He has 4 movies in pre-production, 1 shooting, and 1 in post right now.
Whoa.
Wow.
He also did Drowning by Numbers, The Pillow Book, and 8.5 Women. He's also the writer.
Pillow Book.
What's that?
Ugh, The Pillow Book.
I haven't seen that one. You may not like him then. He's also has 58 writing credits, including the movies I mentioned above. So writes a lot of what he shoots. This one stars Richard Boehringer, who's the cook. 156 credits included I Married a Dead Man, Salt on the Skin, and many, many French productions. Michael Gambon plays the thief. It's Gosford Park, Albus Dumbledore in many Harry Potter films. Helen Mirren, might know her name. She's the wife. You might know her from Hitchcock or Red, The Queen, or 144 of her other films with 3 in post-production or pre-production right now.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Alan Howard plays the lover. He's the voice of the Ring in The Lord of the Rings. And been in a lot of TV and stuff. He's done a fair amount. And Tim Robbins, Rob Roy, Invincible, Tarantino. He's sort of the thief's sycophant. He's on screen a lot, but he doesn't say or do a lot outside of what the guy tells him to do.
Oh no.
This is a well-made film. Do not get my reaction to make you think this isn't a good movie or a well-made movie. It starts off right at the beginning with a brutal scene of the thief humiliating a guy by taking off all his clothes and rubbing dog crap all over and smearing on his body and then peeing on him.
As you do.
Yeah, it's a film. It's a moment that sets you up for what is a large portion of this movie, which is really, really brutal. They're visually, this film desperately needs a remastering, a Criterion. I can't believe there's not a Criterion release of it. There's no small market company that's picked this up to do a beautiful version of it, because visually it's amazing. The scene where he's smearing stuff on the guy takes outside, and most of the stuff's in blue, and you've got 2 trucks set up with the backs open, and you can see food inside of them. So it's setting up all kinds of things about the movie with the food and the thief. The wife tries to jump in and try to stop him from being an asshole, but it does not go well. From there, the group proceeds into the whole basic storyline is the thief. I can't quite tell if I think he's a partial owner or just thinks he's a partial owner of this restaurant. And he comes in with this large group of people every night. And the only person who really doesn't put up with his shit very much is the cook. Hates him and makes it known that he doesn't think much of him. And seems to be the only person that can talk to the thief this way, and frequently does. So that's nice. I'd like more of that. But they go from the blue of the alleyway into the kitchen, and now everything's green. Anybody wearing a sash or a tie or a scarf, this color changes with the room. The visual aspects change the way the show is shot. It's now where the kitchen is almost always shot in a flat left to right. And it looks huge. The scale of the kitchen is just ridiculously large. And so they have a moment or two in there with the thief kind of sort of threatening the cook, but it really doesn't bug him much at all. But the cook then takes the guy who's, after they leave the kitchen, the thief leaves, he grabs the guy who's been humiliated, helps him and cleans him off, showing that the cook really is kind of the nice guy of this movie. So then they move into the dining room. The dining room is all red. Everything happens again. Every tie, every sash, every accessory anybody's wearing switches to red. It's done incredibly well to where it doesn't feel like, look at what we're doing. You can obviously see it, but it's not, everything's not red. Just accents are red and the room is red. It looks really, really cool. From in there, you start to notice that the wife is flirting with a guy who's over in a corner who's always reading. And he has a brown suit on. He is the only character whose outfit never changes. He's always in brown. Doesn't matter what room he's in. He's always wearing brown. And the same suit, pretty much, until he's, not wearing anything. Which happens frequently as well. But the thief in this film, this dude never stops talking. When he is on screen, he's blabbing constantly. Luckily, the actor is good enough that he carries it off, and it's just like, this guy is just an asshole. He's always an asshole. Everything he does, he's an asshole. He's the guy who thinks he knows everything that's going on and knows how everything functions, but he's just kind of a dick. Wife and the man in the brown suit, the lover, sneak away into the bathroom. Everything's white. So there are 4 distinct rooms. Some have speculated, and I don't know if he's said this if the director has said this and Peter said in an interview or anything, but the idea is that from alley to bathroom is the food tract. We've got where the food tracts get delivered in the alley. You get it processed processed for eating in the green. And then the red is where it's rumbling around in your body. And then, of course, the white is obvious. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a neat theory. And the film is already enough to pull it off that you can go along with that. The scene, it's sorry, a cat attacking me at the moment. The scenes between the lover and the wife are tender and sweet, passionate. And then there's a similar scene with the thief coming on to his wife, and it borderlines, at least initially borderlines on aggressive, not quite rapey, but very, very close. And the feeling different between when the wife is with the thief versus what the wife is with the lover is incredibly well done. Everybody in this movie can act their ass off, so that's not a problem. Excuse me. We'll see how long I can go on this. Most of the movie is really kind of that slice of life film. There's not a plot line going on here. The whole film is basically them figuring out ways to mess around. The cook provides them hiding places in the kitchen for them to have their merriment. At one point, the lover says, well, why don't we go someplace else? And the wife basically is like, I like doing this right underneath his nose. I like him not knowing that I am right here, right where he could find me at any moment, and he has no idea what's going on. There are scenes where she shows up. There's another ongoing theme through the whole movie is this child singer who has one of those high falsetto voices of a child's choir. And there's a scene where the lover and the wife have gone away. They finally decide we're out of here. And he's trying to find him. And the thief and Tim kind of torture the kid. And it's damn near unwatchable. It is so hard to watch. And him abusing her in a very long shot in the back of a car at one scene is another scene. I'm like, Jesus Christ. What am I doing to myself? And the scene when the thief catches them and what he does to the lover is really, really brutal. This is not a happy movie. There are multiple things eaten that are not food. During the torture scene of the small boy, he eats buttons. During the scene of the lover getting found by the thief, he eats a book. And, well, if you've seen anything about this movie, you know how it ends already because it's plastered everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're really interested in seeing this film, it's hard to call it a spoiler because it's not a plotted movie. But let's just say Helen takes a very unique way of disposing of the lover's body, and the thief is involved in helping of the disposal. You can watch the rest to find out if you really want to know. I can't say don't watch this movie because it is a stunning art house film, but I felt so shitty at the end of this movie and just beaten up by it. It is just so brutal. But it's gorgeous. It's incredibly well the shooting, the music. I forgot the composer's name. I don't think I wrote him down, but he did a minimalist style music. So there's not a lot of music in it, but where it's used, it's really good. So let's take a moment and do some trivia and notes. We'll start with, taglines, of course. This one's weird. Greenway's recipe of food and sex mixed with art is both delicious and wonderfully wicked. I'm not sure that's a tagline.
That's not a tagline. That's like
That sounds like a review.
Yeah, it's like on the poster.
Exactly. But here you go. Lust, murder, dessert, bon appetit.
Oh, God.
I kind of like it.
Peter Greenway said he was inspired by Jacobine's play, 'Tis Pity She's a Whore, provided him with the main template for the screenplay. So that must be a happy play.
I've never heard of that.
Same.
I have not either. John Paul Gaultier designed all the costuming for the movie. So it looks good. Italian chef Giorgio Locatelli prepared all the food that was used as props. So the prop food is actually real gourmet chef made food.
Wow.
The film's original running time is 124 minutes, which is the one I watched. Due to content, Miramax was given the option of either an X rating or go unrated for theatrical releases. They went with unrated, which is a good choice. The film's power and its brutality and what makes it get that kind of rating. I mean, it wasn't pleasant to watch, but it's why the movie works, because it is so unflinching. 2 versions were released on VHS in the 90s. One was an R-rated cut that was 95 minutes long.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Yeah, mainly, I'm guessing Blockbuster probably cut and released that one for their stores.
Oh, sure.
The Rotten Tomatoes consensus puts this as a pretty nice way. This romantic crime drama may not be to everyone's taste, but The Cook, the Thief, his wife, and her lover is an audacious, powerful film. I didn't write any of them down, but I did dive into the 1-star reviews on Amazon. And they're really interesting. Because, a whole lot of them are like, this is a British version DVD, doesn't play in America.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Okay.
I love those.
1 star because it's region 2.
That's right. But the ones that didn't like it, not a lot. I mean, there's a few people who are like, "Oh, worst movie I've ever seen." It's like, I don't know. What do you think's your greatest movies of all time are? Does it go beyond Pippi Longstocking? But a lot of them were, this movie is just too damn brutal. It is too rough to watch. I don't have a problem with that idea for giving us a 1 star to this movie because it is. It's rough. But there you go. There's my happy time movie. I'm glad I picked this subject for myself.
Wow.
I remember renting this when it came out just because everybody was clamoring about it. And I didn't like it. And I don't remember why. I think, quite honestly, I was just kind of bored and it was a little too artsy for me.
Yeah.
But I am kind of missing the days where we could look at, Miramax films in a theater. Those days are long gone where you're going to get an art house picture like this. Yeah.
It's either some weird indie that breaks through for God knows what reason, or a $200 million movie.
Yeah, you didn't say what the budget was. I think you said you couldn't find any.
Right,
but I would be surprised if this is more than $2 or $3 million.
Yeah, depending on what he had to do with some of the art stuff, there wasn't a ton of money spent on this one.
Yeah, and it got a theatrical showing.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Next, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, I will not be watching that movie, but just out of curiosity, when they would move from one color space to the next and all their accessories would change color, would they remain the same accessory or would they change to a different? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, maybe find a clip of it on YouTube or something because it's really, really interesting. They basically do a walk through the wall and we walk in, they're one color and they're the other side of the wall. They're dressed exactly the same. All the stuff's in the same position. It's just a different color.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. Well, I like that. That's a really cool concept, but I don't think it's worth watching the movie to get there. Not during COVID. Maybe when we're in happier times.
The advantage too is actually looking it up. I have this on that DVD, and it's really hard to find.
Oh, sure.
Otherwise, it's just kind of out of print completely, and nobody's streaming it right now.
Yeah.
But the way it seems to work on our show with some subjects we do, and then like 2 weeks later, like they're all over the place. So
isn't that weird?
Somebody's listening. Oh man. Well, hence all the British it's a region 2. Oh no, DVD is probably because other countries are probably carrying more than ours.
I appreciate the use of the word hence correctly, but I'd like hence to never show up on this show again.
Done. So
yes.
Yeah, my film. Yeah, also really weird. I had seen it once before, but I had forgotten literally everything about it. And I think now that I've worked in games, this film makes a lot more sense to me. The movie I chose for weird food was Existenz.
There's an intimacy involved in playing Existenz that is beyond description. They just pop your spine with a little hydro gun. Break out of your cage, Paco.
I haven't crippled anyone yet. Step into my office.
Now I'm warning you. It's going to be a wild ride.
The new millennium.
This is amazing.
Will bring a new experience.
You're the power source. Let's see how natural it feels.
Where the playing field is a parallel universe.
The game's a lot more fun when it starts feeling realer than real. No use fighting it.
I don't like it here. You think it's infected?
It's not infected. It's just excited.
I think we're still inside the game.
We have enemies in our own house. I do feel the urge to kill someone here.
Do it. It's just a game. Something's wrong. Oh, God.
What happened?
Let's come back here with us. Don't hurt me, Michael. Play with me.
Capital X, capital Z, from 1999. I assume you both have seen this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rotten Tomato scores, I was actually pretty surprised by the scores. 74% from critics and 69% from audience. That's way higher than I thought it was going to be. I was like, this is like a 30-20%er in here, but nope. Critics thought it was okay and audiences were fine with it, I guess. They just didn't go and see it because the budget was 31 million Canadian, aka 15 million US at the time, and the box office was 2.9 million.
Oh no.
It crashed and burned hard.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not good. Not good. Written and directed by David Cronenberg, who's definitely a favorite, I think, of all of ours. I would assume.
Sure.
46 credits, including The Fly, Scanners, Videodrome, The Brood, which I know I talked about for our Mother's Day episode. And then more recently, things like History of Violence and Eastern Promises. He's been doing a lot of acting recently as well. So he has 38 acting credits, including you might have seen him on Star Trek Discovery or in the TV show, not TV show, the Shudder show, Slasher.
Right.
And I have not seen Crimes of the Future, but that is currently in theaters. So hopefully I'll get a chance to check it out. The cast is incredible, much like your film, Eric, but not as high of hitters, like more like just under that level. Jennifer Jason Leigh, 106 credits. She plays our lead, Allegra. You might have seen her in Single White Female, Backdraft, several episodes of Weeds, Hateful Eight, the new Twin Peaks. And currently she's in Atypical, which I've been watching. Jude Law has been in 84 Things. He plays kind of a co-lead, Ted Pickle. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'm going to go with Pickle. I loved him in Gattaca. He's also around in things like Midnight and Garden, in the Garden of Good and Evil, The Talented Mr. Ripley, AI, Sherlock Holmes, Fantastic Beasts, and he was in the whole young Pope, old Pope, new Pope stuff. So I have not seen that. Ian Holmes is in this. He's been in 139 Things. He started off in British TV and Shakespeare, but we would all know him as as Ash in Alien. He was also in Time Bandits, Brazil, Fifth Element, and Bilbo Baggins, of course. William Dafoe is in this, 146 credits. He is the Green Goblin. And he's also the guy, the weird guy in The Life Aquatic, and the weird guy in The Lighthouse, and the kind of weird guy in Aquaman, and the weird guy in Northman. He apparently does between 3 and 10 films a year. So he just knocks them out. During COVID or during 2020, I think he managed to do 3 or 4 films, which I was shocked by. Maybe that's some voice acting. I don't know. He was also the only good part of Boondock Saints, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise, because that movie is trash. Christopher Eccleston, 87 Things. He was in Shallow Grave 28 Days Later, but I knew him from Doctor Who, where he pissed off everyone by only doing 1 season. Which made a lot of Doctor Who fans mad because there were only supposed to be so many lives for Doctor Who, and they felt like he wasted one. So anyway, and Don McKellar, who's been in 75 Things. He's more like kind of like a recognizable face than somebody specifically famous, but I know we've talked about Last Night on the show before, and he was in that, The Red Violin, and lots of indie films. So the story of this. Now, I've tried to pay really, really close attention because it's a Cronenberg joint. And I often find if I get distracted for like 1 second during a Cronenberg movie, I will be lost for the whole rest of the movie. So I was really, really tuned into this particular film. And it's, of course, insane because it's... Anyway, so... we start off in what looks like an AA meeting. We've got Jennifer Jason Leigh in the very back of this kind of big room where there's people sitting. She's getting some bad coffee, and someone on stage is talking. To my surprise, it is not an AA meeting. It is actually a fully packed church of people who are excited to try out a new VR game. They want to be the first to get their hands on a brand new game console, as well as the launch of a VR game called Existence. You get it. And of course, Jennifer Jason Leigh is Allegra Geller, the very famous game designer who is behind this and several other titles. Everyone knows who she is. Everyone loves her and adores her because she's changed their lives. Everyone's so excited to be in these VR situations that a lot of normal life stuff has gone away. Her publicists / marketing guy who's just around, Ted Pickle. Jude Law is in attendance and is pretty excited to be there working with her. However, she gets up the first test group and they all sit down in the chairs in front of everybody. They're ready to go for a 2/3 hour experience when somebody in the crowd jumps up with a gun made out of bones and shoots her. They kind of get her in the shoulder, don't quite kill her, and then shoots the other guy on stage, kills him. And Jude Law then kind of grabs her and runs out the door with her to try and protect her from obviously an assassination attempt. So, what is going on? Who knows? But she believes unknown guy tried to kill her, calls her like a demon and denounces her. So they're trying to find sanctuary, and she is just like, there is nowhere that's safe. All these people are obviously corrupt and trying to get to me. I don't trust the company that I work for. I don't trust other companies. There's got to be like a mole in here who wants me gone, which I was like, that's a pretty big leap from a guy who like shoots at you to think that then the whole company is correct. But okay, that's cool. I'll go with you on that. They find a place to pull over for the night, and she asks him to get the bullet out of her shoulder, and it is not a bullet, it is a tooth. This gun shoots teeth. Very fun. Very fun. So Allegra insists on them stopping off at this hotel, and she really wants to plug back into the game. She's clearly addicted to her own VR universe. She's just constantly like, okay, I know I need to like check up on people. I swear it's definitely not because I just don't want to be here and just want to be in the game all the time. And she's shocked to discover that Ted does not have a port. Now, everybody has a port. This is something that's the equivalent of having your ears pierced, but instead it goes in your spine. And then the game plugs into that. And the game has a plug that is basically an umbilical cord. And the game pad is like a fleshy, enormous controller with sort of like nipple-like buttons. And as you touch it, it squidges and moves all over the place. Very organic, everything's flesh colored, which is super gross. When there's anything wrong with the controller, there's a couple of moments where you see them spliced open. They're filled with like viscera and like blood and nerve endings. It's a mess. I think they even have a bone structure, but she is shocked to discover that Ted does not have this port because everybody has them. It's basically, she's like, you can get these at the mall. Why don't you have this port plugged right into your spine so you can VR? And he's like, well, I don't like the idea of things going into my body. And she's like, we're going to get you plugged in because I'm insulted you have not played my game. So they go to a gas station where William Dafoe, who's in love with her because she's the best thing ever and she changed his life, he is willing to put this port into Jude Law's back. And it's gross. Basically, he's, he puts on a clean mechanic suit, but his hands are still filthy. And he's like, all right, just bend on over. And Jude Law's terrified of getting an infection. And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. It's impossible to get an infection. He's like, how is that real? How is it real that you can't get an infection in a port site that is a constant open wound in your skin? And they're like, meh, it's fine. So they stick a port in him. And Allegra is so excited, she doesn't even let them leave. She immediately sticks her gamepad in him because she wants him to experience it right away. And her gamepad explodes. Turns out that, of course, William Dafoe wants to kill her because everybody wants to kill her. Apparently, there's a bounty on her head for $5 million, and they get even more if they destroy her game. So now they're really on the run. Everybody in this valley, it's kind of this countryside bumpkin area where I guess it's all filled with game designers, which I feel like is an early allegory for San Francisco. But they take off, and she finds a safe haven spot where a friend of hers can take out the bad port, put in a good port, and she can finally get him to play her game. And then they start off on this really wacky, weird adventure inside of this VR universe where it is not a fun game. He starts off on like a fish line, like in like a factory where he's like basically gutting and opening up these like mutated reptiles, which will become the game pads. And he's basically working a fish line. And then they're, in a restaurant. And this is where the fun food part comes in, uh, because he's compelled as a player to do certain things. The game is very on rail. So you can make a few decisions, but it's really going to force you to do certain things while you're inside of this game. And one of those is ask for the special at the Chinese restaurant. And my, oh my, it is a big, smelly, enormous silver platter filled with these weird dead reptiles and like fish heads and just stuff. So he starts to eat it all. And he's like, I don't want to do this, but it's happening. And like, and of course, Allegra's like, yeah, you should do that. Not gonna barf, not gonna barf, not gonna barf. She's like, yeah, no, totally, just do it, just do it. And while he's eating away at this fish stuff, he ends up building a gun out of the fish bones that looks exactly like the gun that killed her. What does this mean? Who knows? But he is compelled to use it at various points. And for some reason, I think 2 or 3 times a dog gets it and drags it from one place to another. It's very strange. We now get them sort of hopping from waking from one place into another place that might still be VR to another place that might still be VR. They're not quite sure what's going on. Everybody's still after her. They're trying to win the game, I guess. And everybody's that they think is their friend ends up turning on them. And we end, and this is, I'm not going to fully give away the ending, but I will say there's a lot of twists and turns in this. And probably the reason why people are mad about this film, for one of many reasons, other than it being incredibly confusing, is that it's very much got that it was all a dream feel to it. However, of course, because everything was maybe all a dream on every level, they also have that is this reality moment as well. So, yeah, if you want to know how it properly ends, what the details of those twists and turns are, I guess just check it out yourself. I spent $4 on Amazon, so you can too. I think that there were some really interesting things going on in this, especially since working in games. I just really felt like he captured some of the weird moments you have where you're supposed to basically have an avatar that represents you, but you go and speak to a townsperson and they say the same thing over and over again, unless you give them the right prompt. So that happens in there. They have people who are just rolling their heads around like, okay, you have to say the right thing to me. Otherwise, like, I'm not going to respond to you. And you have to like say their name and choose certain things. And it did really feel accurate in a strange way. I don't know. It's not accurate to VR, but it is accurate to games as a whole. The game pods being super sexualized were super gross. There's like so much plugging and porting and holes and body, and it's Cronenberg, of course, but it's just seeing people like plug into each other with basically umbilical cords out of their spines was like, what is this? So much. The I don't know. The fish bones were a lot. It was a lot to watch. I can't tell from watching this film whether Cronenberg loves or hates VR. I cannot figure it out because the main character, the game designer, she's obsessed with it. And also, there's just so many moments where you're like, okay, is he against this because everyone's like given up on their lives? Like she jokes at one point because they go and find sanctuary in a ski lodge, and he's like, well, aren't you worried that people are going to come here? And she's like, nobody skis for real anymore. It's like, okay, sure. I mean, that's of course, like it's VR. Everybody's going to live there forever. We can't, except for in the year 2022, we can't pay people to be in VR, so it's fine. I don't know, because there's also a lot of loving, interesting, fascinating stuff about it. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. All right, some trivia.
It's weird.
It's so weird. It's so weird. Okay. Trivia tagline: play it, live it, kill for it. Cool. Yeah. Pretty weak sauce. The film's plot came about after Cronenberg conducted an interview with Salman Rushdie for Shift magazine in 1995. At the time, Rushdie was in hiding due to a fatwa being put on his life due to his controversial book, The Satanic Verses. Rushdie's dilemma gave Cronenberg an idea of a fatwa against a virtual reality game designer. Existence was originally pitched to MGM, but they did not greenlight the film due to its complex structure. Or, alternatively, as you can see in other pieces of trivia, Cronenberg was working with MGM, but he pulled out because he wanted to cast Jennifer Jason Leigh, and MGM said that basically, he did not want to cast her because she makes little art movies that don't make money. Jennifer Jason Leigh had actually finished shooting her role in Eyes Wide Shut when this role came up. She jumped onto the film, and then Eyes Wide Shut required reshoots. She was not available for it. She chose to stay on this movie, and she was fully recast in Eyes Wide Shut. So I don't know what she was supposed to be in there, but whatever she was taken out. She also insisted during the shooting of keeping one of the prop pods, one of those controllers, with her between filming to strengthen the maternal bond you see she has with the software, hardware, fleshware. I don't know what to call it.
Oh my!
In the movie. Also, the motel that they stay at in this film is also used in Schitt's Creek, and it is the Rosebud Motel for Schitt's Creek. Nice. This is the first thing David Cronenberg wrote since Videodrome in 1983. It won a lot of accolades, including the Silver Bear at the Berlin Film Fest. But of course, it was a huge financial failure. Some people think it's because Dimension Films, which was the US distributor, basically gave it a very limited release with almost no publicity. And in Canada, they didn't even make back the cost of distribution. So rough. Christopher Priest wrote the tie-in novel to accompany the film, which is similar to his other books in nature, I guess. I don't know who he is. And in 1999, a graphic novel credited to Cronenberg and Sean Scofield was published. So that was my pick.
That's interesting because Christopher Priest is a comic book writer. Why wouldn't he get the graphic novel job?
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I remember kind of liking this movie, and it felt like, a spiritual successor to Videodrome, maybe.
Sure.
But it just looked really cheap, I thought.
Sure. Okay.
And I don't know if it was like the photography just didn't look, very cinematic or what, but there was something about it that as I was watching it, I was like, yeah, this almost feels like a TV movie or something.
Interesting. Yeah, the sets, you do feel really confined in spaces a lot of times, and that might be due to camera work, and the sets are like, you're very much in this place. You don't really get this feeling of movement. And I know when they're in the car, I was thinking that. I was like, this looks like cheap blue screen. Like, I felt like there was a little bit of balloon reflection in the car, and it did look very, very bad. So I don't know. It didn't massively bother me throughout, but it was also kind of a boring film to an extent. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this movie. It's interesting, but it's also like a lot. And I don't know.
I remember liking it more the second time I saw it, partially because I had such an opinion that I disliked it so much the first time. So I don't know if I was like, I guess it's better than I thought.
Right. I saw it for free on Netflix, so I didn't have the $4 anger building in me either.
Yeah, I'm not regretful for spending the money because, Cronenberg, hopefully he gets a few cents of that. Hard to say, but I don't know. At the same time, it's not a great film, and it's got that really cheesy 90s. This is what VR is going to be. And it's always the same. It's always, everyone's going to be obsessed with it and they're going to jack into it. It's better than real life. And then you see the VR and you're like, this is shit. It's always shit. Like Lawnmower Man, it's shit. Like Strange Days, it's shit. There's no this is fine.
All right.
What about what was the Spielberg one that was
Ready Player One?
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, that film is fucking the worst because you're just like, it's not good. It takes a bunch of really amazing properties and cheapens them. So thanks for that, Spielberg.
Wow.
Yeah.
Spielberg, meanwhile, is looking at our podcast poster and going, the fuck did I do to these guys?
It's not all the time, but Ready Player One is particularly awful.
When you look at this episode's poster or image, you're not going to see a food theme. It's going to be 3 very artsy films because I chose from 1985, Brazil.
B58-732 mean to you?
This whole system of yours could be on fire, and I couldn't even turn on a kitchen tap without filling out a 27B/6.
Do you believe that the government is winning the battle against terrorists?
Brazier. I love a girl with no brazier. Nobody?
I don't remember that either.
Okay. Budget of $15 million. Box office of $10 million. I was good to myself, you guys. Rotten Tomato critics have this at 98%. The audience has it at 90%.
Wow.
It was directed by Terry Gilliam, who directed Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Time Bandits, Adventures of Baron Munchausen, Fisher King, 12 Monkeys, and of course was a member of Monty Python's Flying Circus. Written by Terry Gilliam and the amazing Tom Stoppard, who wrote Empire of the Sun, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, Shakespeare in Love, and then also Charles McKeon, who is a Gilliam associate who has helped write and act, believe it or not, in all of his films. Starring the wonderful Jonathan Pryce, 128 credits. Let's see, Tomorrow Never Dies, Stigmata, G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra. He played the American president.
Yeah.
A little lot. But forever known to me as Mr. Dark in Something Wicked This Way Comes. It also stars Kim Greist, or Greist, I believe it's Greist. But she was in Chud, Manhunter, and just tons of TV episodes and stuff like that. It also has a revolving door of famous actors with small parts or cameos, including but not limited to Katherine Helmond, Robert De Niro, Bob Hoskins, Ian Holm, as Vanessa just mentioned, Jim Broadbent. I know that you guys have both seen this movie. I haven't seen this movie until, 1990 I might have seen it, and that was the last time I have looked at this movie.
God.
Oh, wow.
This was an absolute delight to watch again, at least until the end, which I had forgotten about.
Yeah, I don't quite remember the ending, but yes, take us on a journey.
This is a weird dystopian future film. It's kind of a political satire. We are in a hyper-polluted, hyper-consumerist, bureaucratic, totalitarian future, much like the one we live in. And we meet Sam Lowry, who is a low-level government employee. And when we first meet him, it's through a dream of him flying with angel wings through the clouds and rescuing this lovely damsel in distress. And then we get pulled into the real world, which is incredibly crowded and polluted, and everybody's living on top of each other and stuff like that. He wakes up and he goes through his morning routine of coffee and toast. and going to work and all that stuff. And all this is done in this really cool retro futuristic way. That's it's all kind of a technological marvel, but it's made itself so much more complex than if you just threw a couple of slices of bread in a toaster and used a regular coffee maker, So it's all this cool stuff, machinery moving around him and everything. And then all of a sudden, boink, 2 pieces of toast pop up. So the inciting incident of this story comes almost immediately when a big beetle gets stuck in a teleprinter while it's printing out the name of a wanted terrorist in this office. This terrorist's name is Archibald Tuttle, but the beetle getting crushed in it instead causes it to print out the name Archibald Buttle, who is not a terrorist, but who is immediately arrested from his home on Christmas Eve in front of his family. So Lowry, our hero, he discovers the mistake and he tries to go talk to Buttle's wife, which doesn't go all that well. But at the apartment above, he meets the beautiful woman from his dreams, Jill Layton. She is a truck driver in this dystopian world. And she gets drawn into all of this because she's trying to help Mrs. Buttle find out what happened to her husband. Because everybody is just like, he gets arrested in a very spectacular way and thrown in this weird cocoon and then just dragged off. And the family is like, what? What just happened? So, spoiler, the government killed him.
Whoa.
When Sam's AC goes out in his own apartment, the man who comes to help him is none other than Archibald Tuttle, who is, in fact, a terrorist, but is also a heating and AC duct repairman. And then from here, the whole thing becomes this hero's journey for Sam to rise above his menial, cog in a giant machine government job and do something important with his life. The weird food scene comes when he goes to meet with his mother for lunch at the swanky restaurant. And he's there with his mom and his mom's friends. And they all order this amazing sounding food. They're getting lobster and shrimp and steak and veal and all this. And when the food comes out, they're each given a plate of this green glob that looks like mashed potatoes colored green. And they are all, ooh, ah. And the waiter puts down this glob in front of them, and then he takes this little sign and he puts it behind the plate, and the sign has a picture of the food they ordered. So he's like, for the madam, a steak, and he puts this green glob down and he puts this picture behind of this delicious looking steak. So that is how I shoehorned this into the weird food movie. Sure. So I thought that was very cute and clever. Anyway, Jill, she gets arrested as an accomplice of Tuttle because she's been trying to find out what happened to Buttle. And this is when Lowry finally answers the call to adventure, which puts him at odds with the rest of this world, of course. He finally gets captured and is being tortured. And the third act is this very surreal escape scene where he and Jill are reunited. He had been told that she was killed. And then she and her friends come and rescue him from this thing. And it turns into this weird thing where you start realizing, I don't think any of this is real. And he and Jill escape, spectacularly from this dystopian world. And then it ends in a very depressing way that I had forgotten about, but makes perfect sense for this entire film. It's really a great ending, but it is a bit of a bummer. There is so much trivia to go through on this, but I'm going to pick out just a couple of the things that I thought was really cool.
It's got to be second to like Blade Runner as far as stuff that's been written about that film.
The myth behind the name of this movie, because I actually had to look up, why is this movie called Brazil? Now, the theme song of Brazil runs through the entire movie, right? But I was like, why? So the myth is that Terry Gilliam was at a beach in the UK, and apparently the weather wasn't particularly great, but a man was sitting on the beach alone listening to the famous song Brazil on a little stereo. And Gilliam was fascinated by the man sitting there despite all of the bullshit going on at the beach, this horrible weather. And this, he thought, would be a great theme for the movie. Gilliam's original cut of the film is 142 minutes long and ends on a dark note, as I mentioned. This version was released in Europe and internationally by 20th Century Fox without issue. However, U.S. distribution was handled by Universal, whose executives felt the ending tested poorly. Universal insisted on a dramatic re-edit of the film to give it a happy ending, and suggested testing both versions to see which scored higher. So at one point, there were 2 editing teams working on the film, and Gilliam didn't know this. So he's putting together his cut, and the studio is putting together a second cut.
Oh, my God.
So once he finds this out, this becomes a real problem for him. So the studio's not going to release his film, and he's not going to allow them to release their version of it. So Gilliam was asked to do a film class during the filming of this movie at the University of Southern California, or during the editing of the movie. Terry agreed and took advantage of the situation by preparing to bring an audio-visual aid, which was his cut of the film, which would have been allowed. But unfortunately, 2 days before the event, students advertised a free screening of the movie. So when he arrived, it was announced that Universal Pictures would not allow him to show it. During his speech to the class, he was interrupted by studio executives' phone calls. They eventually allowed him to show a clip. So he showed the entire movie and repeated the screenings for over 2 weeks.
Whoa.
It was during one of these screenings that LA movie critics saw it and awarded it the Best Picture of the Year award, which was responsible for getting Gilliam's edit released finally.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So they were all excited to have Robert De Niro on board at first. But as time wore on, they found De Niro's need for research and obsession with details increasingly irritating. This is coming from Gillian, if you've ever watched the 12 Monkeys documentary. So De Niro's need for research and obsession with details increasingly irritating, with Gilliam saying that he wanted to strangle him. While most of the actors and actresses needed only 2 to 3 takes, Robert De Niro insisted on 25 to 30 takes for his character, and he still managed to forget his lines.
Oh, awful.
In 2004, Total Film magazine named Brazil the 20th greatest British movie of all time. In 2006, Channel 4 voted Brazil one of the 50 films to see before you die. The film also ranks at number 83 in Empire magazine's list of the 500 greatest films of all time. Wired magazine ranked Brazil number 5 in its list of the top 20 sci-fi movies. Entertainment Weekly listed Brazil as the 6th best science fiction piece of media released since 1982, and also ranked the film number 13 on their list of the top 50 cult films. Our buddy Roger Ebert.
Oh, no.
He gave the film 2 out of 4 stars and said it was hard to follow. He felt the film lacked
Roger. Just once.
He felt the film lacked a confident grasp on its characters' roles in a story, I quote, awash in elaborate special effects, sensational sets, apocalyptic scenes of destruction, and a general lack of discipline.
Oh my God. What does he want? What?
I hope he gets cancer and dies.
More
what
discipline.
films was he given 4 stars and 2 thumbs? What is he like? Nothing
Well,
good.
he's only one of the 2 thumbs, remember?
Oh, I guess that's true. Oh my God.
This film was just a joy to watch again. I was just wrapped up in it. It seems really poignant now with all of the government bullshit we're all dealing with every single day, and media just being slammed into your face and never knowing what's going on, but having a feeling that perhaps your government doesn't really care what happens to you one way or the other. So I was like, wow, this movie is, as topical now as it was in 85. This fits really nicely in with his Time Bandits, Brazil, and 12 Monkeys. Time Bandits, Brazil, and what was the film right after this? I know he called it part of a unofficial trilogy. No, because then this is the first part of another trilogy with 12 Monkeys and something else.
Yeah, the Time whatever trilogy. Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just a lot of fun, and I felt like I really finally, after fucking Dracula 2000, I feel like I gave myself a nice little thing to watch for once.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah, that's a great film.
Okay. Well, that means I believe, Vanessa, you have to pick the next topic.
Oh, okay. Next topic. So I'm thinking that maybe we should focus on films that feature some kind of creature or monster, but it has to be furry. It has to be a furry monster. I want to be fuzzy.
You want us to watch a furry movie?
No. That is that one caveat. No furry, as in I don't want to hear about My Little Ponies. I don't want to hear any of that. Nobody show up dressed as a fox next week. Just focus on movies. Okay. Anyway,
listen, the furries are a lot different than the bronies, so I'm offended that you.
I think you can be a furry that is a brony. Can't you? Isn't a brony just like a subset of a furry?
I don't really know. I feel embarrassed that I brought this up now because I have no information to back it up.
Sure. I know people who are bronies. And
let me
furries,
interject real quick.
I mean,
of course you do.
What can I say? I work in film.
Sure. A friend of mine is a furry.
Really?
What's in that closet behind you back there?
No, I refuse. We can't be friends if that's the case. You're going to make me watch that horrible TV, like 2020 special about how like it's not really about sex and they're just really like having a community situation. It's like, no, it's about sex. Like it's okay
totally about sex.
Yeah, it's 100% about sex. Don't pretend it's not about sex. It is.
All right, this took a weird.
Yeah, because that never happens in any other geek culture. No other conventions have had that going on for 30 plus years or anything.
It took a weird turn, and my mom is now going, what is a furry?
Don't Google it. Don't Google it, Kelly's mom.
No, by all means, do. Was the third movie maybe The Adventures of Baron Munchausen? Okay. With Micah correctly pointing out why Vampire Hunter D was originally shot in English, I figured, well, if we can get that fax before he shut down. Because, he mentioned on Facebook that it was the studio was paying for it. The U.S. studio is paying for it. So that's why it was in English first.
Okay.
So I was like,
there we go.
You know what that is? You know what that is, Eric? That is value for value. He just produced content for our show.
That's right.
And that's how the value for value system works. So thank you, Micah, for that.
Thank you, Micah. Absolutely. Yes. After providing us some G.I. Joe BTS.
I wasn't going to mention it.
No, it's good. I think it added to our experience knowing a little bit more in the comments section. So thanks for that.
Well, and let's also thank Bob and Ron, who has been doing some fun stuff behind the scenes for all of us, and Danny, Carlos, Heather, and Ryan, and all of you lovely humans who are participating in this bizarre experiment we are undertaking. Can't thank you enough. You guys rock.
Thank you so much. It's awesome. Even when I give you shit on Facebook, I mean it lovingly.
That's right. All right. Shall we call it a day and let Eric get back to resting and recovering?
Yes.
All right.
Sounds good.
We will be back in 1 week, quite possibly in person. We'll see how Eric is feeling. And we are going to be talking Death by Furry. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
See ya.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio, produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
I think that says something more about you than anything else, Kelly.